we think you could do this on your own. Why don't you set up your own lead generation business? I said, yeah, game on, let's go for it. And within a year, I made my first £1 million.
I have an absolute belief, I'm a behavioural profiler, but entrepreneurs are all addicts. Once something feels good for us, we want more.
Key word is partnerships. So having great partners, and that is a system within itself, how to build those relationships. Also focusing in on high income generating tasks.
It's easy to give up if it's just for ourselves, because we can go without. And if you're tough anyway, you don't need it. You want it, but you don't need it. But we build it often for other people. Welcome back to another episode of Success is a System. I'm here today with Liam Ryan. Liam runs Assets for Life, big events, teaches people to speak, teaches people about property, and everything involved in growing a good property business or a business generally. We're going to get into all of that. I was reading earlier that Liam used to charge people to do Michael Jackson dances at the age of 6. So been an entrepreneur for a long time. We're going to get into all that and see where the conversation takes us. Liam, welcome.
Great. You know what a pleasure. I feel really excited to be here today and to share some incredible, valuable insights to the audience and really help people become more successful following systems.
Well, I really appreciate it. And that success is a system for me, and it is worth sort of where it came from. And then I want to understand where you came from and your business and why you do what you do. But so many people out there are saying, come along and we'll teach you the secrets. Yeah, something you don't know is a secret until you know it. But for some people out there, and you've seen them all as well, there's almost this kind of snake oil magic that, and the danger is people go along thinking that they can sprinkle some fairy dust over me and I'm going to become a gazillionaire. But there's a lot of work in it, as you know. And what I wanted to say is, success isn't about luck. It isn't about fairy dust. It's about systems. Some people built systems without realizing it was a system. Some people learn off of someone else who was their guru in their time. And everyone thinks, I can't be Charlie Mullins, or I can't be Alfie Best, or whatever, I can't be Liam Ryan. But what they can do is they can look at the success systems that people use to get to where they get, and they can emulate a new addition of different systems for their success.
For sure.
So I want to get into that. And clearly, I said about you in your bio piece saying about dancing for money. Where did that come from? And what did that early kind of Liam learn about success, about selling, about that desire to win?
From whenever I can remember, I've always had a drive to want to make a lot of money, to really provide for my family. And that really came from watching my mum really struggle as a single parent. My mum and dad broke up when I was 2 years of age. And I had a good relationship with my dad, and I saw my dad, but I lived with my mum, and then my mum had another marriage, and unfortunately that didn't go according to plan. And there was a time in our lives where we were living in a women's refuge, and one of my first ever memories was me and my mum and my brother in this cold, dark, damp room. And all I remember was having this itchy brown blanket around the three of us because it was so cold. And we were sharing from a cold tin of spaghetti bolognese. And I can taste the spaghetti bolognese today. And in that moment, I must have made a decision that I do not want this for my family, and I want to do everything I can. And I was only 8 years of age at that time, and something just clicked in me. So really from that moment, I've always been highly driven, always wanting to look after my mum. And I was the kid at school that went in with the odd socks on and the hand-me-down clothes, and
You sure you weren't one of my brothers, mate? It sounds really similar. We were in the same house. Or caravan.
The kids with the money made fun of me.
Yeah.
And I lived on a rough council estate, and I'd spend my weekends in the newsagents just reading and looking at magazines, opulent items, fast cars, like a private yacht. I used to be obsessed with men in like YSL grey suits and, beautiful looking women in their dresses, in their shoes. And it was like, I'm just going to have that one day. That's the life that I want for me. So I've always been really driven, and then from that young age, that's where it came from.
Yeah, and I guess I hear that as a very common story in successful people, and people who have had that hunger for success, that need, if you want. And just this morning, I was having a bit of banter with a mentee talking about, you got to turn wants into needs, because when it's a need, it drives you differently. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, similar story, dad left young, mum working really hard, you wanting to look after her. And it is said to boys more. So I'm not meaning to be sexist here, but I'm conscious that it kind of was at that time, because people would say things like, "You're the man of the house now, boy," or your mum would even, they say, "He's my little man," kind of thing. And you feel, my dad, and at that age, you don't even consciously think, "I'm the provider," but all of the conditioning of society is making you think, I got to look after my mum.
Yeah.
And this protective thing at a really young age. It's not something that comes when you're 25 or grown up. Early on it comes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really felt that, growing up, that I wanted to be the man of the house and really protect my mum and my brother. And I just associated money with happiness. And that's not always the case, as I went on to learn. But certainly having money, making money, in my view, is definitely better than not having money. And there's so many people right now across the UK and the globe, most people do not have the money that they want, and it's causing stresses and issues. So I learnt from a young age, at least sort the money thing out, and other good things may come of it.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because some people are torn. They think, I don't want it all to be about money. Money can't buy love. Money can't... me and my wife, we've been here for 25 years. We love it, but we've also been homeless. We've also delivered pizzas on mopeds for 2 years and gone without. And having had both of those extremes, I've never had an argument with her about having too much money. And if you got too much money, you can give it away. And that makes you feel good as well. But if you're dependent on other people, you've got no freedom. And, so many people think the government should do this, the government, you got no freedom. So you got that desire to provide, to look after your mum, to want these nice things. Not many people start at 6 or 8 though. So what, was it a kind of, someone gave you some cash and you thought, if I can do that again? Or was it how can I, where did that early kind of ways of making bit of cash come from?
My mum introduced me to a good friend of hers called Tim, who was a market trader.
Right, okay.
And I don't know if they still exist, but there used to be these big London markets, and you'd have these guys with the huge vans.
Oh yeah,
and the lorries, and they'd have the toys and they'd have
not 20 quid, not 10 quid.
Yeah, and they'd have the microphone on, and so I would go and spend my weekends with Tim, and I learnt the lingo. I also had a part-time job at a greengrocer's, and he used to slap me on the shoulder and called me monkey bollocks. And I just learned how to build desire from a young age. And then Tim, I said to Tim, look, I can sell this stuff in school. So I became the kid in secondary school that went in with 2 bags, the school bag and then the real bag with the jeans and the perfumes and all of that type of stuff. And I learned from a young age that I could buy something for £1, go and sell it for £3, and then this thing in the middle was like my money. It was like, oh, this is good. I can spend this money. And I really enjoyed from a young age, let's just call it wheeling and dealing, buying and selling goods. And I learned from a young age how to build relationships and how to build desire by putting myself in the firing line and really embracing a hell of a lot of no's.
So given that then, what would you say are your top 3 either stepping stones or strategies or tips for building relationships? Almost as a pre-sell, up to a point of they'll buy off me.
Number 1, always be yourself. You don't have to try and be somebody else. So authenticity is the most important thing. Some people will love about you the very thing others hate about you. So you can't please everyone. So again, authenticity is really important. The second thing about building relationships is understand your avatar and what are their biggest pain points. So what are their pain points? And when you understand their pain points, the third thing is then to identify how your product and service can give them the gain points, and you then become the solution. You become the bridge to their problems. And when you become the bridge for somebody, that's how you create what I call a win-win relationship. So it benefits you and it benefits them.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, magic, there's gold dust just in those things, really. But, you know, so many people, they think, oh, I've got to sound more intelligent, or I come from Luton, I've got to do it. And that you talk about market trades, you know, they're like cheeky chappies, they're relating, they're connecting, and people like them because whether I like their accent, whether they would sound as intelligent as me, most of them are probably more intelligent than me, but they're real. And that authenticity, anything else you do beyond that is almost a wank unless you connect at that level. Because if you're not authentic, if you're not you, my brain says, I don't know what is not being true about, but there's something not true about him. I mean, even if I want something, it's hard for me to want to buy it off you if I don't trust you. And people talk about we buy or we connect with people we like, know and trust. How can I trust someone who isn't being authentic with me in the very first interactions?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know, you're getting those systems, and then suddenly you're around people who are giving you the skills. You're seeing how the people they connect with love that, and then you find the way to make some money. Yeah. So take me to the next step of kind of Liam as a businessman, evolving.
Very, very, very interesting. And I think just to follow on from there, which is super important, and that is the follow-up. And I know it sounds so simple, and most people that are successful will say this, so it's nothing new. You know, I'm not Einstein by coming up with it, but the follow-up is so important. You know, many sales are done on the third, fourth, or sixth touch point. So that's something really important for people to do. And I really learnt that through door knocking for Zenith Windows. So I started door knocking for Zenith Windows.
And this is still while you're at school,
Yeah, this was at 15, So I'm door knocking for Zenith Windows. I'm knocking on doors from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 9 o'clock at night, 12 hours Saturday, 12 hours Sunday, end up going to college, walk out of college after 3 weeks because I just thought I can earn a lot more money knocking on doors 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I really became a great door knocker for Zenith Windows and won many awards for that. Was making great money at 16, 17, 18 years of age, £600 a week, £1,000 a week, £1,500 a week. So, you know, back then, for a 16, 17-year-old, that was good. But the more I made, the more I spent. But that was
and
really the next
because you've
step.
lived that learning, I want to get into that because as you were saying that, I got the pleasure of being in the audience and then afterwards getting to meet for a minute Zig Ziglar, who was obviously see you at the top, amazing bloody guy. I remember he opened up, a big guy at the time. Interestingly enough, he wrote a book saying he was a certain weight, which was 50 kilos less than he was. But he said, if I don't fucking lose this weight by the time I get this book published, they're going to call me a liar, kind of thing. Anyway, but he comes in and he says, isn't it a beautiful day? This is in LA. I was only 23, 24 in LA. And he said, isn't it a beautiful day? And it's like, yeah. And he says, but you know, the negative people out there will say, but it's pissing down somewhere, kind of thing. And then he went on through some of these relationships, and he shared the story about an insurance company he used to work for. He used to train their people. And he said they wanted to know, what is it that makes a successful insurance salesman versus a not successful? He said in the first time round, they thought it was, we're going to learn about all these successful people, and we're going to study that success, and we're going to emulate it. Well, of course, when you get the sale, it kind of all feels fucking easy. Yeah. But he said, and we learned that. We wrote a system and we gave it to people and they still weren't any more successful. He said, what we then realised is we had to look at the people who failed. And then it was the marriage of the two. So this important connection between failure and success for them was the people who succeeded failed more than the people who didn't succeed. And you go, hang on a minute, how can that work? They hit more numbers. Yeah. You know, so they felt the fear, they felt the failure, but they had a bigger why to get them to the next yes. And, you know, at 15, you must have knocked on those doors, say, fuck off,
Thousands.
You know, bugger off, not interested, stop, you know, get out, all that negative. And what Zig was saying is, it isn't, they all hate that failure. They all hate that rejection, but their need is bigger, so they push through it anyway. And then they feel that they start to learn that, yeah, you're only 10 knocks away from a yes or whatever. How did you experience that? Yeah, what did you learn from that?
100%. When I went out for the first evening, I'm 15 years of age, I'm in a car with There's 5 of us in the car. I'm like the youngest, and we go to Ipswich, and I knock on doors all night, and I don't get a single lead.
Jeez.
And I go home and I tell my mum the great news that I've got a commission-only job, £25 per pitch, right? So I get £25 per pitch. She like hits the roof and says, "You're mad. Get a proper job. They're taking the mickey out of you." I said, "No, mum, this is the way forward." I went out the second night, no leads. Went out the third night, no leads. Went out the fourth night,
So let me just.
and I got my first lead.
Let me just capture though. Night 3. How are you feeling? More the start of night 4.
I'm just feeling determined. I'm not going to
not
give up.
Disheartened.
No. I'm like I am because I saw other people around me getting the leads.
So, but what system? Because, and that's an important thing. What system kept you up? Kept you focused? Kept you driven towards that win? Because the vast percentage of the population lead lives of quiet desperation. They give up at the first no. Why didn't you?
Because I just worked the maths at 15. 10 pitches, you then go to £40 a pitch. So it was the numbers that almost kept me in. It was like 10 pitches, I'm going to make £400. If I just get this first one, I know I can get 10.
So there's the system.
So that was a system.
The magic for me is the numbers never lie.
Yeah.
You know, if they tell me I'll get something after 10, I'll get something after 20, fucking, I want to get through the first 9 as quick as possible kind of thing. And if someone always buggers it up because they buy off me at number 4 kind of thing. So, but it's important to capture those systems because there'll be people out there might be listening and have set up this business and they're all excited and it's all shiny and it's day 10 and no one's hit their website or no one's answered the phone or the people that have said no kind of thing. That the numbers never lie is a really important system. Yeah. And you were driven by that. You knew it was coming.
I was just driven by it and I was just driven by the money and I saw other people in the team getting the leads and I just thought I've just got to perfect my pitch. And that's all. I've got to build desire quickly. And I realised very quickly the best way for someone not to slam the door in your face is to put your foot inside the door and lean in. So that's what I started to do. And then I got less doors slammed in my face. And I remember getting my first lead and it was what's called an immediate, which means there's a sales rep sitting around the corner and they're in the house within 20 to 30 minutes.
Jeez.
So it's an immediate, which is the best type of lead. The rep goes in the house and he did what's called a pitch and miss. So he pitched the product, but he didn't sell, but I still got my 25 quid. And in that moment, when I got back to the office and they said, "Yeah, you had a pitch and miss," and it was like, it's 25. I felt like I was on the top of Everest. I have cracked the code. And I went home, told my mum, she was really happy. And it was like turning on a tap from there. And it wasn't that long, I became the best door canvasser in the UK.
So as you were saying that, I was conscious, a lot of mentees come in here and they tell me where they are, where they want to be. And they assume, as a mentor, that I'm going to say to them something like, you need to do more, you need to work harder. Most success is about taking stuff out. What did you take out of the knocks or the no's? Because you talked about refining is normally reducing down, so or getting just to the bits that work. What did you take out of what you were doing when you failed that got you to the
great question. So every time I had a no or a door slammed in my face or some form of rejection, I would just start to tweak a certain element of my pitch, my opening line. So I started to test different tonalities.
Okay.
I didn't even know what that was at the time, but this is what I was doing. So I was testing speed. So talking fast, slowing down. So I was testing different ways of communicating with someone at the door to see what worked.
Yeah.
And after doing this hundreds, if not thousands of times, I refined a pitch, which I said over and over and over again. And I found the winning pitch that worked for me, that made me get the best results in the team. So
win, learn, repeat kind of thing. Do you have any systems like that sort of try to help your teams now?
Yeah, I call it test, tweak, repeat. So test, tweak, repeat, test, tweak, repeat, test, tweak, repeat. Yeah.
And I think some people don't do the tweaking.
Yeah.
They give up on the failures before they get to the success, and they were often so close. So, but I could talk to you for days, mate. But let's get to then. So you get that success, you get that money as a young kid. Then I'm assuming, like I just worked my balls off in retail, but I went in. I had some money at school, and it was a shit school. So actually, anyone who had money was doing all right. How did that then manifest into growing you as a person, your confidence, and your desire?
I grew up maybe faster than a lot of other kids. I moved out of home at the age of 16 with a girl. So all of a sudden I've got bills, I've got rent, I've got to put food on the table. I'm making a lot of money. I then get into some fruit machine gambling addiction. So I was always skint. So I'm always trying to survive. And then that led me into doing some insurance for a couple of years. And then I had an opportunity to go and work overseas for a lead generation company at the age of 20. And I just grabbed it with both hands. And that was really a huge turning point for me, because I was on the phones again. I was on the phones, which I'd done really well in insurance. I learnt a system, learnt a pitch, was doing really well in the company. The company owners then fell out, and then one of their directors came to me and said, look, we think you could do this on your own. Why don't you set up your own lead generation business? I said, yeah, game on, let's go for it. And within a year, I made my first £1 million.
Brilliant. What age?
22.
Fantastic.
22, well made my first million in the bank. And I remember it like yesterday. Back then we were banking in Latvia, offshore banking.
$1 million was a lot of money back
then.
Yeah,
huge amounts, right? And I log into my banking, and there's one and there's the zeros.
Brilliant.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I nearly start cry, pretty much cry. I call my mum. I said, Mum, you're coming off the council estate. Our lives are about to get better. We've just become millionaires. And that was at 22 years of age, yeah.
And there, I'm thinking that's another system there, because it's easy to give up if it's just for ourselves, because we can go without. And if you're tough anyway, you don't need it. You want it, but you don't need it. But we build it often for other people. And, for me, what I hear is when you say, I'll ring my mum, because your mum's your reason at that point, it feels like. You need her to know that she did good and that you can now look after her. And you didn't say, I went out and bought a Ferrari. You say, I want to take my mum off the council estate, sort of thing.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was
Do you try and connect people that you teach to a why like that?
For sure. I think the deeper you can go on your why and understand why you want to be successful and what you're doing it for, and you've got a bigger purpose than yourself, then you're more likely to achieve, because business gets tough, life gets tough. You've got all this stuff going on at the moment with politics and interest rates and all this mad stuff going on in the world. And unless you can find a way to really stay laser focused, you can be pulled in many different directions. And it's so easy for people to give up. And then they just say, well, that's just the way it is, and I'm not destined for greatness. Everyone can be destined for greatness, but you've got to understand it's not an overnight matter. There's going to be many ups and downs along the way. So back then, and of course I still love my mum today, and it's still a big part of my why, but I'm now a dad. I've got 4 beautiful children. I've got my beautiful wife, Ollie. Your why can change over time, but making that phone call to my mum, and
I could see, as you said, you can remember it as if it was yesterday.
Yeah, it was a really nice feeling.
But so you get to $1 million, it's all easy after that, isn't it? All upwards.
Well, you know what? For years and years and years, I was really good at making the money, but I had no idea how to manage it, and I had no idea how to multiply it. So the more I made, the more I spent, and eventually lost it all. Luckily, I've been able to make it back again. I think once you know how to make money, and you've got a really good skill set, i.e. sales, speaking, building relationships, then if it's taken away from you tomorrow, it's all up here. You can get it back a lot quicker. And obviously you don't want to keep doing that, because you might die skint. But
why did you lose it?
Bad investment decisions, spending things, drug addiction, clothing addiction, party addiction, just making silly mistakes, thinking it was going to last forever, and not having, which I wouldn't even know existed at the time, but mentors in my life that were guiding me for greatness. I think there's only so much you can do on your own. And a lot of people get to a certain level and then it just crumbles, and then they get to a certain level and then it crumbles. The difference between my 20s and then my 30s going into my 40s, one of the fundamental differences and why I'm so passionate about it is being around great people, having great mentors, being in mastermind groups has been a fundamental difference.
Well, and I want to pick up a little bit on, you talked about drug addiction, this different addiction, and you said addiction 3 or 4 times there. I have a absolute belief, I'm a behavioural profiler, but entrepreneurs are all addicts. So we have addictive behaviour. Once something feels good for us, we want more. And so I often say, I retired in 2012 at the age of 46. I thought, I'll never fucking work again. Didn't need to. Bought homes in America, and all sorts of things, loads of cars. And I was bored shitless within months. Yeah. And then, if we've got addictive behaviour and my addiction was growing the business, making money, all of these things, and I've then not got that feeding anymore, a lot of people then go to drink or drugs. And we're not getting, it's an easier buzz often than the sell or the hard work kind of thing. And I think it's really important to get across to people that if you're entrepreneurial, you're almost definitely addicted to something. Far better to focus it into business and success and helping other people and all this lot. But so Assets for Life, when was that set up?
So Assets for Life, we're in our 10th year now, So we going back 2015.
Yep.
So we're in our 10th year. It's now the UK's leading property business and wealth training company. We've got 10 different trainings across the group. We teach people different property strategies, low and no money down techniques, serviced accommodation, deal packaging, commercial conversions. I do a good amount of property deals myself, £31 million worth of property deals in the last 10 years. I'm known as the money man in property, so raised over £11 million joint venture funding. We've got a fantastic community, run an international retreats business, building a villa over in Marbella right now. And everything we do at Assets for Life is client focused on the success of the client. And that's all stemmed from me being mentored and getting great results and then playing it forward. And yeah, it's just a wonderful feeling.
So all those things going on within the company, without the company, and yet you're here, you look relaxed. You often look relaxed. You're building a big new home centre, conferencing suite in Spain and everything else. What systems are you using to make sure that you can have that level of scale, that many people, that many different products or investments within your portfolio, but still be chilled and still be able to be here? What systems are keeping that?
Well, a key word is partnerships. So having great partners, and that is a system within itself, how to build those relationships. Also focusing in on high income generating tasks. Which is branding, social media, having more conversations with the right type of people, focusing in on launching new products and services, becoming more known in the industry, doing things like this, podcasting, getting the message out there, and also building great teams and having an infrastructure in place. And what I aim to do, and I'm not always the best at this, and I'm learning all the time, but it's like, how can I remove myself even more from day-to-day operations in the business and outsource and just hand that over to people that are better at managing, people that are better at admin, people that are better at the mechanics, and I can focus on talking more.
So I really want to try and pick up on some elements of that, because just this morning I put out in one of my WhatsApp groups, communities, that the more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is to you. Capturing that and then having the conversation with a couple of people around if you don't get great people, if you don't grow, you will never be successful. Where do you find your people? Do you find people and then home grow them, or do you look for the best people and take the risk or the investment that comes with it? Because so many businesses, 4.4 of the 5.6 million businesses in the UK are one-person businesses.
Wow.
How would you tell people, if you were speaking straight to this camera, how did you overcome that fear of taking on that first employee, then the next expensive employee? Because You know, I remember Alfie Best saying, I built the first million pretty much on my own. I was pushing, I was driving, I was making things happen, but I could never build 10 million like that or 100 million like that. How do you overcome this fear of the cost of people when it could be in your pocket as opposed to you paying them?
Yeah.
And that transition to building teams and being willing to invest in great people.
Yeah, I've had situations in the past where I've been working definitely in the business rather than on the business, and it can get you so far, but then you just don't have any time. Like there's so many business owners that are going to die early because they're just spinning all of the plates. And maybe it was from being young. It was never something I had to really force. You know, I had some experience of doing things on my own. It didn't quite work. So what's the opposite of doing it on your own? Well, the opposite is just to get some people. So if you're a business owner now and you are a one-man band or a one-woman band, one of the first people that I have had in my businesses in the past that will really help is get yourself a really good PA. You can get yourself a VA out in the Philippines. You can get a PA local to you, £15 an hour, 5 or 6 hours a week, and just start outsourcing some of the low hanging fruit and then watch what happens to your time. Now, you don't free up your time to then go sit on a beach. You free up your time to then focus on more tasks in the business, which can bring in more money in the shorter space of time. So one of my morning mantras is, what can Liam do today that's going to bring in the most amount of money in the shortest space of time while serving my communities? What can I get off my desk? I don't want to put stuff on my desk. I want to get stuff off my desk and focus on building relationships.
And it won't be administration. It won't be.
I don't check emails anymore. I don't have it. I don't have email on my phone anymore. Just got rid of that 3 years ago. Brilliant. That was a big game changer. So yeah, things like that. And you know what? You've got to trust other people. So you need to just trust the process. But what a lot of people do, they bring in staff, they then don't give any time to their staff and expect their staff to know what to do. You've got to invest time and energy into each person. So I wouldn't recommend going and hiring 30 people in one go. Hire 1 or 2 people, see how it goes, free up some of your time, and then you'll grow organically. Where do we find them? A mixture. Some tasks, like technology or things to do with our database, that is definitely a skill set that we need to go and hire good. There's a lot of people in the business that we just bring through. A lot of my graduates actually have become now members of the team.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So.
Well, listen, and that people bit is important. Next thing that is just current because it's just kind of happened in the last month or so. I'm conscious we've probably only got a couple of minutes left because otherwise people are going to be running out of time if they're running the kids to school or they're going to work or something. We can definitely do a follow-up. Trump was elected just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And some people think that's the worst thing in the world. Some people think that's the best thing in the world. We had Labour come into the UK, and if they were of Labour support, they're fucking great. And if they weren't, it's the end of the world. How important, as who's been in charge of America, England, politics, all that, how important has that been to your success?
0, to be fair. I stay extremely neutral. Anything to do with politics, government change, I don't really have a view one way or another. It makes no difference to me who is Prime Minister, who is President. Whoever's in, I hope Trump does a great job. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But whatever he does, whatever happens in the UK with Labour is not going to affect my future and what I'm able to do for my family and my communities because I'm not reliant on the government. If they put taxes up, I'll just make more money and we'll become more tax efficient. So it comes down to, and I see a lot of this thing like people are saying, oh, well done to Trump and well done to Labour. And then they're getting like hate mail. And like this stuff is really starting to damage people's relationships. So for me, I just stay completely neutral and focus on what I can do day to day to bring in the money, be tax efficient, that type of stuff.
And for me, that's the nub of it. And I knew where you'd go with the answer. I was hoping, I was confident. No, I knew where you'd go. But so many people think, oh, I might as well give up then. I mean, I read just this morning, loads of people are saying they're going to leave America because of this or whatever. Shit will happen. Winds will change. you can only change yourself, and you adapt the changing world. Okay, what do I need to do differently? You know, in the same way that you knocked on those doors in your early career and you adjusted your tonality, or you got your foot in the door, or you adapted your behaviour slightly, shit's going to happen. We have to adapt our behaviour, right? And so many people don't want to change. Do you have any philosophies or systems around change and looking for it, or being aware of it, or, you know, reviewing your business to make sure you're still current and up to date and relevant?
I like to always be in an element of discomfort. I use that to drive me forward. So if anyone's tuning into this now and you're not going through the best time, or you've reached a point where you're super successful and now you're just bored, try and find an element of discomfort or pain that attached to a big why is going to hopefully drive you forward. And we're talking about, you know, taxes going up, and you know, I think it's going to continue to happen. Well, why don't you get better at managing the money you do have and becoming an investor and getting it into assets rather than spending it on things and wasting money? Become a better investor. And how do you do that? You have to learn, you have to study, you have to get around great people, and you've got to want to do it, and you've got to be willing to do what 99% of the population are not willing to do.
Brilliant. And what a great read. But before we end, what's new, different and interesting in your life? You know, what should people be looking out for in your world, and what are you doing that's really exciting you right now?
I've got a brand new book which is almost finished.
What's it called?
It's called Property Success.
Okay.
And that's hopefully going to be launched early part of 2025. So really excited about the launch of the book. I'm looking to do a rebrand as well on my podcast.
Brilliant.
And perhaps take that
Shout
down.
out for your podcast.
So podcast is called Liam J. Ryan, The Deal Maker. We've got almost 200 episodes.
Brilliant.
But I'm just in talks with the team about maybe taking it down a slightly different angle for 2025. So really excited about that. And of course, Assets for Life. We're going to continue to serve our communities and show people how to make money, manage money, multiply money. So if you want to understand how to do that and build a property portfolio or a business, then check out assetsforlife.co.uk.
Brilliant. And final quickie, quick fire, 20 seconds each. You're on your deathbed. You've only got like a minute, and you want to tell your son or your daughter the 3 most important things to be happy in life. What are you going to say?
Love yourself, love others, and like my dad told me, go and become as successful as you want to be, but remember your moral compass.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Liam. Hope you've enjoyed that as much as I have. I can't believe where the time gone. We will do this again. If you've liked, please like it. Do subscribe. Do come back again to another episode of Success is a System. Thanks for listening.